Hi, and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we have an older Chevy. We're going to be changing the right rear strut assembly. We're going to change the strut, the spring, and the bearing plate as a complete assembly. The reason we're doing that is I'm going to show you why, but the coil spring is actually broken and is causing a rattling noise in the right rear. So let me bring you in. I'll show you what it looks like, and I'm going to show you what tools you're going to need to use and how to proceed with it. You will need an air gun to do this, or you'll need a half-inch drive ratchet to break the bolts loose, because the bolts are usually pretty tight on the rear knuckle where it goes through the bottom of the strut. So all right, let me bring you in. I'm going to explain what to do, and we're going to get this job done. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you what we're going to need. We're going to use an air gun like this. I think the bolts on the bottom are actually 18 millimeters, which is what that is for. You're going to need a couple of sockets. You're going to need a fairly long extension. I'm not sure exactly how long, so we have a couple of them here. You're going to need a wrench. I believe the bolt in the trunk area is 13/16, so we're going to break it loose with this, and then we're going to take it out with that. We may need a swivel. We may need a little punch like this to knock the bolts out, and most importantly, we're going to need a hammer and the complete strut assembly. All right, now when you change the strut, you make sure you use your new nuts and bolts with it too. Do not reuse the old stuff. So let me show you what was wrong, and we'll continue. Okay, as you can see, the strut looks fairly normal here. It's old, but it still looks fairly normal, except for this. That's the rattling noise that the car is getting, and as you can see, it's just snapped right off. Old age does that sometimes, but that's it. All right, so first thing we're going to do is, before we do anything, let's just put this over here. All right, these bolts here need to be, these bolts right here need to come off. We're going to take these two nuts off almost all the way, but we're going to leave them on, and I'm going to show you why. Then if you look up underneath the bottom up here, you'll see in the bottom of the, I don't know if you can see that, but you see this bolt here and here? We need to take those out. But there is another bolt around the back up in there. And the way we get to that bolt is we have to go up into the trunk area and take that out first. So that's what we're going to do first before we do anything. All right? I'll show you what I mean. This is what's up on top. This right here. So we're going to take this one out first before we do anything, and then we'll come back underneath the bottom. We'll take these out. So, all right, let me lower the car down, and we're going to continue. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take this cover down right up in here, just like this. It just pulls right out. We're not even going to take it out. We're just going to pull it down so we can gain access to it. And you see right up in here, I don't know if you can see that, but you can see right up in the top right there, this bolt right here. You're just going to take this out. I usually just break it loose with a wrench. And then we get in there with a ratcheting wrench. And then we'll take it out. And once you break it loose, you know they do come out fairly easy. There's really not any rust up in the trunk area most of the time. All right, so after you have it out, we're going to throw that away, and then we'll lift the car up and we'll continue down the bottom. Okay, I'm hoping you can see what I'm going to be doing now. Now we're going to take an air gun, and we're going to come in there, we're going to shoot those bolts off, those nuts that we talked about. Now remember what I told you, we're going to leave that nut on there just a little bit. Same thing here. Now, like I said, if you don't have the air gun, you can take it off by hand. Just saves a little bit of time having the air gun. All right? Now, next thing we're going to do is these bolts are actually splined going into the knuckle. there's little splines inside here, so we need to knock these out. And there's a couple of ways you can do it. One, you can get in here and just tap on it with the hammer like this. Two, you can put the socket over the top like this and just tap on the socket. That way you're not going to do any damage, so that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to step on the for a second here. Just got a face full of dirt. Okay, so then now after you knock that through there a little bit, you can take these nuts off. I will show you the splines that I'm talking about here. I'll show you. Hopefully you can see that. You see how the splines on there? That's why we need to hammer them out, because those splines actually dig right in there. Now, it's just me, but you see how these bolts come through right there? I try to put them back in so that these bolts are actually the same way that you see them right here. So we're going to try to do that. All right, let's continue. Now, if you can't get them out, you can use a punch like this and just tap it. And we're going to do the same thing on the top, like that. And we're probably going to use the punch just to push it up or down. I'm going to tap it, I guess. Okay, so now this part of the strut is disconnected. We're going to grab a pry bar. Actually, we're just going to leave it just like that for now. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come up underneath here where we had the, right up in the top there, and we're going to remove those two bolts up there. I hope you can see. Let's take a look and see. I hope you can see okay, but we're going to take out these two bolts right there. Now, you could use an impact gun if you have it, or you can just get in there with a ratchet. Seems like it comes out fairly easy because, again, they're up into the area of the trunk where it's not very rusty up there. Well, theoretically anyway. Remember, we're not keeping these, we're going to put new ones in. And we'll take out this one up here. Now it's going to come down just a little bit, just so you know. Watch you don't get a face full of dirt. Okay. And now we're going to separate the, this is all loose up top. Now we're going to come down on the bottom right over here, and we're going to pull that apart and take that out. We're just going to rock it back and forth, and it pulls right out. And now we're going to come in here with a pry bar. We're going to push down a little bit and we'll get this out of there. No, I guess no pry bar needed on this one. Be careful you don't do any damage to the brake line when you take it out. And that's the broken spring. I hope you can see this. That's the broken spring right there. So let's get the new one and let's put it back together. Remember, we're going to use those new ones, right? And we're going to screw everything in by hand before we tighten anything up. We'll get rid of this. You're just going to put it back in the same way that you took it out. Watch it scratch the body of the car. Put these down for a second there. Just lift it back into its location. Before we do anything, we're going to get our new bolts and we're going to catch both of them up top here by hand. We're just going to lift it up there for now. And then we'll catch our bolts here. And we're not going to tighten these, we're just going to leave them hanging now. Same thing over here. Now, even though you see me using a ratchet, you notice I'm doing it by hand. I'm not using a, what are you doing down there? Even though you see me using the ratchet, it's just screwing it in by hand. We're not doing anything as far as tightening it. All right, next thing we're going to do now is we're going to put this back over the knuckle where it previously came off. And we're going to catch our bolts through there. Now, sometimes catching the bolts is a little bit tough, but if you just get in here with a let me grab a screwdriver, we'll come right back. Okay, sometimes getting in here is a little bit difficult, but you could just get in here with the screwdriver and you could pry it. And then just get the bolts to line up through here. Just going to tap it in a little bit. Now we'll get the upper bolt to line up as well. Tap them through like that, and now we're going to line these up the way that we wanted them to line up for the wheel alignment. Let me grab a wrench. Okay, and I'm back here. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I hope you can see this okay. What we're going to do is we're going to turn these the way that I wanted them so that when the wheel alignment is done, we can get on it fairly easy. All right, now once you have them turned the way you want, you just tap it here and you tap them in. Okay. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to tighten these nuts up. Now if you don't have an air gun, you got to tighten them up by hand until these pull flush in, but we are going to use the air to do this. You may have to hold these so they don't rotate in the back here. Okay, let me show you what I meant about that pulling in all the way. You see how these, let's get a light over here for you. You see how these bolts have pulled all the way in flush, and now they're lined up the way I wanted them for the wheel alignment. And then we air gunned it in all the way over here so it's nice and tight. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up top and we'll tighten those up. I hope you can see okay there. All right, so now we'll just screw these in all the way up by hand, and then we'll snug them up with the wrench. I should say with the ratchet. Now there is torque specs most likely to tighten these up, but I'm just going to snug them in there. I'm not going to look up the specs on it. Just remember you don't want to snap it off. Same thing here. Okay. All right, let me bring you in there. I'll explain what I did. Okay. So we put our two bolts through here. We lined them up right here. We tapped them in very lightly. We air gunned these nuts down here tight. We tightened up those two bolts right up there. And now we're going to lower the car down. We're going to go up top and we'll tighten up that last bolt in the trunk. Okay, now once you've got the vehicle back down the road, you're going to take your new nut, not the old one, put it on here, and we'll screw it on as far as you can by hand first. Now these are self-locking nuts, that's why I say you want to use the new ones. Okay, nice and tight. We'll just put our stuff back in there like that. If you have any clips, you want to put the clips in there. That's it. All right, so that's it. We're all back together. Now, obviously, if you had an air gun, you can use an air gun, but I'm just showing you by hand, just as a demonstration. All right, but that is the old strut, and that is the piece that actually busted off of it. All right? All right, if you have any questions or comments, you need to talk to me about anything, send me an email. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.